How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I was getting worried first person.
I was getting worried too. I'm glad that that it worked out. I was like, not today, not on this Tuesday.
So how are you doing?
I'm feeling good. It's actually been a really busy but productive day. Yeah. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing well. I'm blessed. Figured I'd shoot from outside. It's a little cool in Dallas. It's been raining this Memorial Day weekend, but it's all good. Thank you so much for being on the Dessie show. You know how and I stay shouting you out and trying to put people up on everything that you do. But I really appreciate you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I almost shot outside too, but I was like, I'm not trying to deal with the uncertainty of being outside. So I said, let me stay here. But I appreciate you. You are definitely an active supporter. You check in, you shout out. So
I couldn't have it any other way. You know what I'm saying? So so kind of talk to me, and I know you have is and other things that you do, but please kind of talk to me about. I feel a lot of people will know is from the Curly Girl Collective and from Curlfest. How did you come up with that with your partners? That kind of, and then we can go into some of your other business endeavors as well.
okay, cool. First, can you hear me clearly? Because you're breaking up a little bit. I want to make sure that I sound clear.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So you asked a long-winded one. So how do we get started? I got started, let me go back to college, graduated. My degrees are in risk management and marketing. And I spent the first half of my career working in the financial world and risk management out on the West Coast in the Bay Area. Loved it, got what I needed to get. And then 2009, 10, 8 happened where everything in the financial world kind of fell apart. And I was reassessing what's my work in the world, kind of feeling like, even though I was a little girl from the Bronx that had, quote unquote, made it to this idea of what success looked like, I was kind of feeling like I didn't have connectivity to my work in the world. So I started to do other things. I exercised my marketing degree a bit, worked on some marketing consulting projects, and worked with a really large nonprofit in Harlem, doing program development and management there. And it was about that time that a group of us on a email thread that had been having conversation about pretty much everything beauty, from how we were managing our hair, our skincare, our needs, what we were experiencing in the dating world, what we were experiencing at work. We were talking about this all day, and this was, digital first. And so we decided that we would get together and, do this live. And so at that point, it was maybe almost 40 women on this particular Google email thread. And so we all gathered together at my now business partner's home. And it was just such a beautiful feeling to feel like you can be free, and you can also feel like someone else has these similar issues or similar needs or similar triumphs as you. So a group of us felt like it was such a beautiful experience that we wanted to do it again. And so at the time, we didn't even have a name. We weren't even calling ourselves Curly Girl Collective. We just know that we wanted to gather women of color again, because it just felt so good when we had done it. So in 2011, and interestingly enough, you happened to book this interview right around our anniversary. So it's our Curly Girl Collective's anniversary season. So 2011, May 22nd, we had our very first event again. And at that time, we welcomed about 300 to 350 people, which was huge for us. And my particular role in our organization and just my career is a partnership strategy. So I work with brands and connecting them to audiences or communities that want to have an authentic conversation, a culturally congruent conversation. So we worked with a really, at the time, what we call now a pioneer in the beauty industry, Miss Jessie's. They were our very first partner. They came to that event, and with their full team, they did the first ever, and now this happens quite a bit, but the first ever live big chop. So we had like our community source someone who wanted to get their hair cut from, to just have their natural hair. And so, that birthed us really becoming connected to gathering and the power that brings. So we decided then to create what is now called Curly Girl Collective. About 3.5 to 4 short years later is when we birthed what is now called Curlfest, the first ever beauty festival in the world. And so Curlfest 2014 was, to us, just magical. We welcomed about almost 2,000 attendees, maybe 1,500 attendees. Yeah. And we had 2 brand partners. As I mentioned, my particular work is around brand partnerships. So I really get to have these intimate and close and deep conversations with brands that want to have a conversation with the Black millennial woman, the multi-generational and multicultural woman. Yeah. And so, in 2014, we had 2 partners. It was Curls and Eden Body Works. They've been writers since the beginning. And it was then, after that very first Curlfest, that we knew that we needed to do this again, because this was something different. This was beauty outside of the box. It wasn't in the convention center. It wasn't in the expo. It was designed with us in mind. And so since 2014, we have been listening to our community and growing our community and building Curlfest alongside other amazing projects that we're really excited to roll out. But I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely, and I think around the first or the second one is when it really became up on my radar. And obviously I'm in the marketing and branding and things like that, and I work with different clients. I work with and did projects for some clients like a Cantu and a Curls and a World Air Show and different things like that. So when I was doing marketing arm, it kind of came up, and I'm a research person, so I want to find out who founders are. I want to find out who's behind something, and I think that's how I kind of found you. And then it was like we just connected, and we were just so cool. Like we technically hadn't even did any business together, but we always tight, like, what you got going on? And I've been so excited. I've seen it grow so much over the years. And so that's why I wanted to have you on the show to kind of talk about that, different things like that. So
yeah, thank you. I agree. It's really a testament to how important it is to cultivate relationships. You never know when those relationships are going to manifest into your next opportunity or the next opportunity you have to connect someone else. So yeah, agreed. And thank you for being a supporter from back 2015. Thank you. All the way in Texas. Yeah.
And it's always fun. I see people go to it and they're tagging different people, and I'm like, I'm either telling them about you or trying to shout it out, just different things like that. So talk about some of the brand partnerships that you've cultivated over the years, because I think I was reaching out to you, and I forget, we're talking about music or something else that we were trying to kind of work out, but just talk about some of those partnerships and some of the key things that you've been doing as you've grown the company.
Yeah, thank you for asking. And before I answer, I see we have some folks coming in. Tell me where y'all are from, and ask any questions that you might want to, but I would love to know where y'all are from. Thank you for hopping on. So, brand partnerships. Gratefully, I love what I do. I really enjoy making connections. I really enjoy having conversations with so I get to work with brands across the beauty spectrum, entertainment and lifestyle space, also now, automotive and the like, but some partners that we have worked with, they range in size and scope. Everyone in the beauty suite, from the L'Oreals and the Revlons of the world to the Camille Roses and Cantu, as you mentioned, and some brands that have had the opportunity to kind of get a foundation or even, launch their brand right at Curlfest or within the Curlfest community. So outside of beauty, we have worked with some pretty cool partners. Target has been a really tried and true partner of ours. We have also worked with HBO and Netflix, activating when they were wanting to connect with folks around the release of various shows. Netflix was back when Spike Lee was launching She's Gotta Have It on Netflix, so we had the opportunity to host him and the entire cast at one of our empowerment stages. And so let me think, who else have we done things with? Across the board. We're in conversations with a ton of different brands, and we also do partnerships that are really collaborative. So we've done a partnership with Uber Soca Cruise for a number of years where we do an activation on ship. We have done collaborations with a number of different brands across this community of ours, this community that's kind of lifting up and elevating up the multicultural people.
Yeah, so I see we have Virginia, we have this long.
Hey.
We definitely have we got Philly in here.
I see you.
Yeah, so shout out to Kiki said so. I saw her checking in. But yeah, so, and what I like about your brand partners and things that you do is because coming from an event background, it's all about the activation, but it's about cool activations. You don't want to just do the typical, just throw a sign up, have a table. I like that you guys do different activations with different people that kind of makes for each brand as opposed
to absolutely. And speaking about activations and sometimes that's marketing speak, but it's essentially how the brand or how the partner comes to life in the space. It can be digitally. Right now, all activations are happening virtually. So those conversations and those kind of creative elements are happening, but activating live is what is typical. But yes, that's actually some of the fun of it. And I'll give you a story that really I was just telling the other day and it makes me smile. It's also about being able to have creative juices flow so you can come up with some of these activations. A lot of it is listening to both sides. Both parties want to have a part in this. The brand wants to share and show and inform, whereas the audience wants to learn and digest and also have value given to them. And so when you're able to listen to both, you can really conceptualize something that's going to speak to and answer both of their needs. An example of that is with another partner, one that we all see on the beauty supply store shelf is Ampro. I remember having a conversation with leadership at Ampro, and they were talking about this really exciting thing that they were doing with Magic Finger Studio, which is a popular braid shop in Brooklyn. And it was so exciting because it was the release of her product, Shine and Jam. And so as I was listening to what it is that they were looking to do around Shine and Jam and making sure they spoke to the naturalista or the woman who was all about her braids, I conceptualized this area called Braid Nation. And so we built out Braid Nation at Curlfest 2019, which was really a testament to, I am also a consumer of this. So I love a good protective style because it allows me the freedom to move and go and show up without having to do too much thinking about my hair in the moment. So we were able to conceptualize this space that spoke to what the brand needed and what the community also needed. And so, yeah, that's actually some of the fun of it. I feel like that's one of the areas I get to release some creativity. Plus, we're a team of 5 founders, so we're all coming with amazing perspectives and ideas. I am the one who kind of lives in braids, and then we have others on the team who are all about that twist out, so they're able to kind of bring all their elements to it. And we're all a team of really dynamic professionals. Like, we started this business, for everyone who may be in this position, side hustling, and we're forever. Not forever. Eventually we have the exit plan, the exit strategy, but we are side hustlers. So we have been holding down our full-time jobs, our full-time projects, or the various amount of things that we were managing while building this in passion and listening to again, both sides, the brand partners as well as our collective. So yeah, activation is fun. It's the creative part.
Yeah, so talk about consulting work that you do even outside of Curlfest, because it's always important that I feel that we have one of us in the room, because so many times you see brands, they do things and they try to do things for us, but it's like they were so tone deaf and don't have the right in the room, or at least somebody that can speak up and say, hey, this is going to people, or this isn't right, or this isn't really the way that we see it when it comes across that way. Talk about the work you do from that standpoint, and some of the different.
Thank you for saying that, Dessie. It's true. And I again, I was just having this conversation with a fellow marketing colleague. So as a marketer, you really get to be on the pulse of what is kind of talked about and what is put out onto screens and media. And so it is important that we are at the table, and whether we're at the table as an entrepreneur, as a consultant, or working within that corporation, we all add value, right? I think there's kind of a glamorization about being independent, or a glamorization of being an entrepreneur. And there's triumphs and drawbacks to both sides. But as I was talking to actually a colleague that works at an advertising agency that manages one of the clients that we're talking to, and she was sharing with me, I'm advocating on the inside so that they can be a partner of, whatever experiences that I'm working on, whether it's a cruise or an event or a virtual experience. Once I did an international conference on the island. So there's so many different areas where I'm creating these brand partnerships, but it is important that we infiltrate all these spaces, right? And that we're ensuring that our voice is heard in whatever element it is that we can impact, right? So this particular colleague, she works on a very specific brand, and she's using her flex to say, hey, I'm going to make sure that if you want my community of Black women or Black people or multicultural people, Black and brown people, whoever we are, to spend dollars on your item, I'm going to make sure that you are having an authentic conversation with them. Right. And furthermore, investing in those experiences that are built by us, right? So there's something to that too. We are one of, actually, I was just talking to Live Nation Urban about this. We're one of very few festivals that are owned and operated by a woman, and let alone Black women. There's not a lot of festivals that are owned or operated by Black women, or even agencies in for that matter. But yeah.
And that's always disappointing when you find out, when you take a peek behind that curtain, even if it's like some of the beauty brands and things like that. That's why when it's a beauty brand, it's actually owned by, I like them a little bit more. Like, shout out to Kurt, shout out to Obia Natural, shout out to who else am I thinking of?
You should do a roll call. There's so many.
But that's what I'm really looking for, and because it's like, they really understand what's going on. And
absolutely, that's one of the dopest things that I've witnessed. Actually, is there's two things that I get to witness because of these conversations with brands. One is they're paying attention because we are being really intentional about where we spend our time, our dollars, where we rest our eyes. We are paying attention to the content that we consume and what we're spending our money on. And as a result, it definitely alerts any brand that wants to have a conversation with us to pay attention. And so I get to hear brands say things like, because of the imagery from Curlfest, or because of the imagery from, all of the dope experiences that we're creating, Culture Con, Ad Color, all of these experiences, because of what we're seeing and because of the data and the information that we've gotten, it informed our ingredient story, and it informed our packaging, it informed the campaign that we use. Even take a look at the Target shelves. There is an entire aisle dedicated to people of color having a space on these shelves. And so that's one thing. And the other is the surgence of us creating where we saw the gap. And
Yeah.
that's why we had, you know, we could go back and forth all day about so many dope beauty founders that have created, from skincare to makeup, nail care, and of course hair care across the board. And they're doing well. These people are successful, and they're, you know, they're listening, they're innovating, they're continuing to build.
Yeah.
And then they're using their influence as these successful entrepreneurs to create experiences. You can look at like the Main Choices of the world, the Super Sense, the, you know, these people that have created these multi-million-dollar brands, you know, with us, with their community.
Yeah. And I'm gonna ask you one more question before I get you out of there. But and I thank you so much for your time today. And I also want to highlight that I love I've been seeing you do a lot of panels and doing a lot of whether it's Zoom conferences or whatever. So I really like that you're an advocate for it all, and that you actually get out. You're so personable, and I see you speaking a lot, and I definitely see it. I don't know where you're taking it, but I can definitely see a future in that for you.
Hey, thank you for that, Dessie. Thank you.
Yeah, so talk about and like I said, this is gonna be the last thing I ask, but talk about the way that you're utilizing technology, because people can't get out and move around. Curlfest can't be an outside event right now. So what are some of the things that you're doing, if you can talk about them? Like, you know, put it out.
Yeah, I think I heard you say, what's some technology or things that I'm using while we can't get out? Is that the question? And P.S. Thank you for giving me that, you know, that encouragement. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm working on it, right? So I'm working on really figuring out how I can cultivate this experience that I've had over a decade of it and share it and be of value to others. You know, it's all about building that ladder so that we can all, you know, climb it. So technology, I'll speak briefly to personal and briefly to business. Personally, I have definitely been using all the ways that I can video connect, whether it's WhatsApp or Zoom. Even with my mom, I've had some really beautiful experiences with my mom, and like we're connecting, and she's telling me stories from back in the day that I didn't even know. And it's just because we have this ability to connect via like FaceTime that, you know, we weren't using as much before.
Right.
One thing that I'm also doing, and for any other entrepreneur or professional out there that's looking for like a tool, particularly I'm always seeking productivity tools because I'm always doing something extra. I find, you know, accountability work sessions extremely helpful. And what that means is like I'm either doing it with fellow colleagues or other groups, but maybe they're called activation sessions or work sessions, but you may join a Zoom where you use a productivity technique called the Pomodoro method. It's essentially a timed, intentional work session. At the top of the session, you set your intention for what you want to have completed.
Yeah.
At the end, you exchange if you've done it. I'm using technology to really flex that. I find that my productivity really increases as I'm, you know, building these proposals that are pivoting. What was to happen to something new, I need to spend a lot of time, you know, adjusting. So I utilize that as a tool. I'm sorry?
Oh, shut up. Person
Hey,
that I had. Yeah.
hey, shout out. Hey, y'all. Yeah, I see some folks in there. Hey, Chef Flex. Hey, Dior. So on the business front, there's a lot of technology budding out there. I'm almost like, who is a technologist that I can connect with, because I have some ideas. Let's build something. But there's a ton of different virtual platforms that are being used to house virtual experiences, because everyone and their aunties and their mamas are doing lives. There's one that's really helpful if you are someone out there who's like looking to do lives and you want them to stream across multiple platforms. There's a platform called StreamYard that allows you to stream across multiple. So there's just now, I think, because we need it, we're looking for ways to video. Everything is all about this video experience, whether you're recording, pre-recording, or live recording. It's something video. And so, yeah, all the technology has been around that. I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely. So, once again, I thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm going to chop this up, and get it to you because, you know, I definitely did. And, you know, I know you got a great following. So I appreciate for rocking with me and being on the show. For those that want to connect with you, shout out your IG.
Thank you for having me, Dessie. My IG is just Gia.Lowe. Yeah, holla.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll be reaching out to you soon so we can talk offline, doing some work together.
We gonna make it happen.
Okay, sounds good. Well, you have a nice day.
You too. Bye, guys.